Taking the water softener out today, and I've got the bypass valve off of the install tubes. I just want to let people know that you do have O-rings here and here. So if you're having a little bit of a leak, it could be these. This fits right down over those. And these go into the water softener. So if these are getting out of shape, you could have issues with them too. Now, the clips that hold these on are easy to get off. Do not try to force them off. If you're forcing them off, that means you have pressure in the line, or that you need to move this up just a tad or down just a tad. These clips are really easy. They just fit like this, but if you can't push like this, I'm just pushing on the bottom part and you see it comes out there, and a little bit difficult one-handed, but pull them both and that tube comes right out. If these do not come straight out, then you're not lined up in the middle where this is at, and you may need to press down or up a little bit to free these little clips to where you can remove them by hand. If you can't remove them by hand and you're trying to use a pair of pliers or a screwdriver, you're going to break this clip. So if you have no patience, order extra clips. But I've turned my water off and I turned the faucet on so that the water pressure drains out and allows me to get to these clips, but I did have to push down a little bit because once they're pressurized, these lines are pressurized, it puts pressure between this adapter tube and the bypass unit and raises it up just a tad. And these clips have little raised edges right there. And when that raises up, those get caught in there, and you're not going to get them out by forcing them without breaking this clip. Now that's the same for this. Those are connected through here, and these clips just go on right around through here. And they just clip in like this when that other piece is in, or when this is matched up. And again, if you can't just lift them out with your fingers, you have pressure against the tube, and you need to either push this unit towards or pull that bypass valve in, or maybe even out just a tad, so that those little tabs on these that are right there, little tab right on that side, that way they're freed up and you can pull it out. If you try to force them with a screwdriver and they're not freely coming out, you're going to break it. Trust me. So I've already had to replace several. So one of the other things, this is the water outlet line, and you can see it's got a little clip here. That just pulls up like that. Put that down, and then this will wiggle itself out. Notice there's an O-ring right there. So if you're doing maintenance, make sure you get the O-rings. There's a little rubber part in here in the middle. I don't know if that comes out. I don't have my pick right here at the second, but there's an O-ring there. And notice how dirty that is in there, if you can see it. This O-ring's really on its last leg, so it's one of those things that should be replaced. Push it back in with a new O-ring and silicone on the O-ring, and then just put the clip on top and push down. I got this off center. Try to push it in a bit more. And there we go. Now that clip will hold this in place. The other part is your Venturi valve. Now this, you can just unscrew. There's a screen Here's an O-ring right here. I'm going to lift up gently on the screen, not pressing in on the screen. And you'll notice that little indentation right there. That lines up when you put it back in with this piece of plastic protruding there. Then you've got a little plastic piece. And make sure that's cleaned off. It also has that little bit to line it up. There's a piece on the top is you can just lift it out with. Then inside is a little rubber gasket, and this may need to be replaced. I just pulled that out gently with the pick. And it also has a little alignment part. Make sure you know which side's upside down and which side's right side up. Sometimes it can make a difference with things like this. Now, also, right down here should be a little tiny screen, a baby of this one, that you would need to pick out and clean. You don't want to lose it, so whatever you do, just be very careful. My screens are clean, but you want to make sure there's no calcium buildup or debris or dirt or anything in the screens, because that can limit how well your water softener is working. Now, we'll go ahead and set these back in here. And that gasket right here is just nasty. I know it needs to be replaced. Put the black piece back in, and then the screen. Take the O-ring part off. There's the screens lined in. And then come in and line this one up. And then screw this back down. It's not a contest, just hand tight. You don't want to snap stuff in there. Now you'll notice this right here. That's another one of these clips. And it just lifts straight up. And yep, that one's lost for right now. And then this pulls out. You'll notice there's two O-rings, or should be two O-rings on there. Mine are stuck right in there. But these O-rings were really bad. Well, there's one right there. That's probably what was causing a problem draining. No, that's just O-ring gunk on there. It's not an actual O-ring. So those should have been cleaned better by me, but I was just putting it in to see if anything was going to work. I did have a couple of newer O-rings that I did put in here. And again, this little pick or something like that, you can just go in and pull those out and replace those. So those are always a good idea to replace. Now, there's another area and for that I'm going to remove the control head or the valve head. I just pull that up and this clip came off. Put it back on. I would just put it in here and snap it down. There's one more on the other side. That's loose. So I remove that part. And I remove this part. And while you're doing it, it's good to take pictures so you know where things go in case you have to put them somewhere else. So with that up, I can just lift the valve body up. And you see I have a basket. I've got an O-ring on this side of the basket. I'll loosen this basket up a little bit. Pull it out. There we go. There's an O-ring right there. Now I just replaced this O-ring because when I pulled this out the other day, my O-ring was laying in pieces down inside the basket, and apparently if that happens, the water does not recharge very well or at all. So that was an issue there for me. There's an O-ring right here also. Now, if you look at my hands, they're getting dirty from these O-rings, which means they're deteriorating and they should be replaced. Down in here is where your resin is at. This is full of water, so you can't really see the resin. Let me see if I can get a light in here. I don't know if this light will do any good. It's just putting a reflection. So what I did was I grabbed a piece of tubing. I've heard people use a straw, stick it down in there to grab some resin out and check to see how it's doing. But again, with that O-tube as bad, or the O-ring as bad as it was on the last one I replaced, that was probably a major cause. Now, there's another spot, and it sits right inside the, I don't know where that's an outlet. And that's right here. And I can pull that out. And that's just a keeper or a holder for this right here. And that, oh, the pick's in my hand, sorry. Do this the easy way. There we go. This has two pieces of metal on it right here. It might even be magnets. I don't know, metal or magnets, one of the two. But I had to replace this because last time I went in there, all I had was this round piece, and all of these things were gone. Who knows where they went? Probably down into my resin bed. I didn't see pieces in the basket, so who knows. But this piece right here is a pickup. And you see you've got a wire in here. Now, when this thing turns, when the water's flowing, this thing turns, and that passes by each of these metals in a rotation as it goes by this pickup sensor. And what that does is it counts the gallons of water you're using. So if this is not working, then your system's not going to regenerate automatically. So if you get soft water when you regenerate manually, and then after a day or two it's gone again, chances are this or the pickup line or something on the circuit board is not where it needs to be. Now, this unit's not going back into service, so I'm not really worried about anything on that, but I just wanted to have the video to show you the different areas for the O-rings. Not only the O-ring on the tube or the basket in the middle, but all the other O-rings that you'll need. I've seen this kit for 3 O-rings on Amazon, but again, bypass tube O-rings you should get right here, and these should be the same as the install kit O-rings, so those 2 in there. So if you're going to tear this down and do some maintenance on it, you might as well have all the O-rings. The Venturi Valve O-rings right here, the 2 little ones. The drain line O-ring. And that way, while you're in there, you get them all replaced. You shouldn't have to really worry about leakage or things like that on a hole. There's another gasket, or several different parts, I think 3 or 4 different parts of gasket inside the manifold here, and you have to take off the motor. There's another video that explains and walks through this very well, so I'm not going to go into it with this one. Installing is just the reverse. Place the basket in. And then move this and push down. And then you replace this piece here, and you put that where the middle of the collar is keeping these two pieces together. And sorry about the camera work here, but it's a little difficult one-handed for me. Okay. It's on that side. This side was the worst for me, and I couldn't get this off of this side, so I decided I didn't need to. Put that on there. It'll move, but again, you've got the O-rings in there, and once the system pressurizes, it'll pull up and keep the water from leaking out of here. It's a very simple design. Kudos to whoever put this together, because it makes for replacing things very easy on these, but at the same time it means you've got to go in more often and make sure those O-rings are up to date on there and not going bad on you. So the other part in here that I didn't find out, and I've had water softener for years, is iron out. You can get that at the store. There's other resin cleaners as well, but if you get iron content in your water, through my research I found that it will cause your resin to not work. So you put a cup of iron out into a half a gallon of water, pour it down inside your brine well there, put your lid back on, and do a recharge. And then that should go help refresh your resin bed. Now, trying to do it after the fact, you know, over years of the iron building up in there, it may or may not work. The resin may need to be replaced. Not what anybody wants to hear, but there's also good videos on people replacing their resin. So I'm not going to go into that on this video. But that's just some of the things I've learned. I hope that helps somebody. Thanks for watching.